Hello everyone. Today, we'll be diving into NEO's 4.79% decline, short interest, and technical patterns. Get ready for insightful predictions on market movements in this comprehensive analysis. I'm also going to talk about the overall market, what's going on with SPY, and a couple of other tickers like Tesla, and talk about how on earth the market is moving, what you should be watching for. But before I do anything like this, before I talk about what's going on with NEO and what's happening with all these shorts piling in, NEO is down 4.79% for the day, but the whole market did actually come down a very similar manner. And overall, while exploring news about NEO, I found little to no negative reports about the platform. It's just that NEO was due for a technical move like this. I was talking about this yesterday being one possibility, especially if the market ended up just continuing to slow down. And the real question is, why on earth did NEO sell off like this? Well, it has less to do with NEO in itself and its fundamentals, and more to do with the overall market as the market started to sell off. So I'm going to break down how the market moved and why NEO got impacted by that. The unemployment numbers came out today in the US. They were a little bit lower than expected, which is a decent sign. I mean, the market didn't respond too negatively to that. But the non-farm payrolls were lower than expected too, and the market actually popped off of this, which is a little surprising. The market still decided to pop and start pushing, but then we got a big rejection off a critical level on SPY. And then what happened was the market, I'm going to pull this up right here, the market ended up just selling off as a result of that, and there are still some talks going on about the Fitch downgrade. Basically, they downgraded the U.S. long-term rating from AAA rating to AA rating plus. Now, what does this mean? Basically, when foreign investors or anyone wants to invest in the U.S. or take, like bonds and etc., they have to look at the USA, and the rating the USA has, it's kind of like a credit score. So here in the U.S., if you have a higher credit score, you are more likely to pay off your debt on time, make your payments, and do things like that. But if your credit score is a lot lower, it's less likely that you're going to be meeting those payments on time and meet your financial obligations. So here in the US, we had AAA rating for such a very, very long time, and finally it got a downgrade from AAA rating to AA+, right? And when this happens, this is not the best of news for the US. Many people out there said it was very ridiculous, such as Janet Yellen, Warren Buffett, and other figures. But like I said before, it's still going to affect the markets. I mean, the last time this happened, we witnessed a considerable decline in the market. So we will observe if this occurs again, and it's just very important to be prepared. As far as NEO goes, NEO was down 4.9%. I just want to mention that NEO didn't really do anything wrong. This wasn't necessarily NEO's fault. And observing NEO dropping, I just want to mention that there was a big surge in the short interest. Just a couple of days ago, we observed approximately 26 million of these NEO shares being shorted. However, we noticed some short covering for just a couple of days before NEO started to drop again. And last time, this came out just a few days ago, about 15 million NEO shares were shorted. That is the most up-to-date short interest on NEO, and that did have an effect on the share price, right? We saw NEO starting to slow down as a result of this shorting. Relative to the market, NEO still has a good price per ratio, still holding up quite decently, and historically, NEO tends to be not the strongest on Fridays. They're only green about 53% of the time. We're just gonna have to wait and see. Looking at some data from NEO. NEO on August 2, they launched their newest power swap station. They have 22 power swap stations and 9 charger stations in Europe, plus 500,000 plus third-party chargers. So pretty good stuff for them. Just wanted to note that. But now let's talk about the technicals. How is NEO looking? Unfortunately, when examining NEO's performance on a longer time frame, it appears to be displaying some weakness. NEO has been developing a bearish divergence and starting to cool off a little bit. But NEO has technically not really broken below our 50 EMA so far. I think that on the 1 hour time frame it's a little easier. Not the 1 hour, might be the 2 hour time frame. I think it was this one. So on the 2 hour time frame, NEO is actually holding the 50 EMA as of right now. So we're gonna if this holds or not. If it does break below this, observing those imbalances that were actually down there will be crucial. So if you go back to the 4-hour time frame, by the way, NEO had these imbalances down below. So there's one in the higher 13s if it broke below the low of the day. So if it broke below like 14.5 or so, we'll closely monitor NEO's movement as it approaches the high 13s, like 13.97 is a possibility. The 50 EMA on the 4-hour time frame becomes very possible, and it had this bearish divergence, which is still in the process of developing. So the OBS do favor NEO coming down into like the 14 area that may be trying to bounce after that. But there might be a little bit more downside ahead as the market is starting to slow down. SPY has this head and shoulders like pattern that is developing, and the market is going to likely continue to sink. However, I just want to note that it depends, and if we continue to break down on Monday or not. If we end up breaking below 440 sticks very soon over the next couple of trading days, we're anticipating SPY to reach 442 as the next level for the upcoming gap fill. If we fail to do that and we end up bouncing, you have to get above 448 then 450 for there to be hope for the bulls. But so far it's looking more likely like the market is going to sell off more with the negative rating that came from Fitch. Now, I will talk about more things devolving SPY and NEO. But I just want to mention, technicals are looking kind of weak on SPY for the triple Q. It's the same thing. Fundamentally, what we're witnessing is a series of lower highs and lower lows, indicating a well-defined channel pattern. Now, could you argue that this is on the verge of bouncing? However, the concern lies in the absence of a catalyst that could trigger a bounce, and we're currently trying to hold 372. If that breaks, 370 is the level you should closely monitor, then 368 as our support, and for resistance, 373, 375, and 376 still looking relatively weak. It looks like it's gonna likely continue dropping off and hitting 368 to 370. And finally, we have Tesla on the 4-hour time frames below this pattern right here. What some people are wondering is, could this be like an inverse and shoulders? I'm not sure about that. I wouldn't necessarily count on that, because we're on the verge of getting a bearish cross on the PPO on the MACD. So if Tesla were to break down 250, if 250 fails on Tesla, it's going to come sinking down into the potentially all the way down to where its gaps are. If it bounces off 250, or if not this low right over here, it has to get above 255 and then try to get above the 200 EMA for there to be some hope. It looks relatively weak right now. We'll stay attentive for those confirmations. But one issue for the market would be Apple selling off. Apple is currently down, and that's slowing the market down. NEO was also following the market down 4.79%, looking relatively weak. So we're going to be discuss how does NEO end up performing. Could NEO get that bounce or not? In my opinion, it looks to me like NEO is going to hit the lower 14s because the market may drag it down. So it's not necessarily NEO's fault, but that looks very probable based off this trend. However, the question is, and this is going to be for tomorrow's video, will NEO continue to sell off, or is NEO going to get a balance for the next few weeks and next few months? I do have a prediction for NEO. I'm going to talk about involving the Fitch rating, but I first have to talk about what actually went down. Alright, so wait for my video for tomorrow for that update on NEO and also for the whole market. I'm going to break down something very insightful for the next few months. I have high expectations for the market to showcase substantial movements by the year end, and I think many of you will find it quite intriguing. And I will talk about what I think is going to play out, so just wait for that for tomorrow. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more stock predictions and market insights. Remember to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Happy investing and see you in the next video.